Today I'm going to show you guys a little tip that will really help with your fly casting ability. And not only your fly casting ability, but being able to feel the sensitivity of bites while fly fishing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a rod that was given to me. A really good friend of mine and my wife conspired together and got me this rod for Christmas a few years ago. It is a GL Loomis rod, and it was designed by a really good friend of mine, and he did some customizing to this rod, and him and my wife gave it to me for Christmas one year. When he did it, he did some really cool stuff to my rod. But one of the things that he did is the simplest little thing I've ever seen on a rod, and I want to show what he did. So he's taken in where the reel seat is, dead center, he's put a little dot of paint right there with some clear coat above it. He did that same thing at the end of the first section of the rod, where it will line up with the next section of the rod. And he did it in between that piece and the next piece, and then again at the very end piece. Now I am in my fly tying room, and there is a ceiling fan in my fly tying room, which I'm not going to say is the smartest thing I've ever done, but I am not going to put that all together because I don't want to get it put in the fly rod and the ceiling fan. But I'm going to show you guys what I've done and how to do that. I'm in here getting my rods ready for the trout season. Opens up here in a couple months in Oklahoma, and I don't do a lot of summer fishing. It's just too hot. But in the fall, I'll really get active fishing when it cools down. When it's 120 degrees outside, my butt has no business out there fishing. So I'm just gonna enjoy the fall, and that's what I'm doing, is getting things ready. That's probably why I like fly fishing so much, is I live in a place with temperatures comparable to hell, and I can tie flies and get my gear all ready all summer. And then in the fall and the spring, I can flat annihilate it. And I do a lot of winter fishing as well. So I'm in here getting that ready, and I just finished up my Winston rod, and I put a dot there and a dot there, basically where they'll all line up. So I already did that one, but I'm a little concerned with the ceiling fans, so I'm doing a different rod for you guys, and I'll show you how I did it. And the reason I'm doing this rod is because it's a little bitty guy, so I'm not gonna have as much chance of hit the ceiling fan. And basically what this is a little 3-weight fly rod, and I have really got into micro fishing, and it is a blast. We'll use a little bitty nymphs, and we will just flat annihilate them with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3 rod pieces together. This is a little 3-piece rod, and I am going to line that bad boy up. I want it 100% lined up, where every one of them ferrules and the eyelets are 100% in line with each other. And it's not that hard. You could do this at the stream every single time you went fishing if you chose to, but I choose not to. I want my fly rod to be fast and efficient. I don't want to have to be out there lining things up and taking chances of banging it into doors and stuff like that. So what I've done is I've got my little bitty 3-weight, man, this thing's awesome. A buddy of mine built this for me, and it is the most sensitive little fly rod I have ever used. So what I'm going to do is I have acquired some neon greenish yellow fingernail polish. I have no idea what color it is, it doesn't say, but anyhow, this was in my daughter's fingernail polish stuff. And I'm gonna tell you what, the coolest part about having a daughter is you can steal her fingernail polish for fly tying. And the next coolest thing about having a daughter is having a daughter like mine, who is an avid outdoorsman, so she won't even get mad when she finds out I stole her fingernail polish if this is what I was using it for. So it's a pretty awesome deal. If you don't have a daughter who's into the outdoors, you need to get you one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a skewer stick, and I procured this out of my wife's kitchen, and you can use this, you can use the head of a nail, a toothpick, anything. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to dip it down in the bottom of that fingernail polish. Then I'm going to take this rod that I know is 100% lined up, and I'm just going to dip and dip. And I have them 2 dots perfectly lined up. I'm going to do it down here, re-dip the skewer, and dip and dip. Both lined up. And then where my reel seat needs to be, especially on this fly rod because it's adjustable, I am going to line that thing up perfect, looking down my fly rods, and I'm going to dot it. So now I know exactly where, I'm going to take this thing apart before the ceiling fan does. So now I know exactly where those rods need to line up when I'm out there fishing. Now I'm going to let these set for just a little bit, and as soon as they dry, I will take and clear coat over the top of them. And all I use, you can use head cement. I use this stuff called Super Dry, and it is, I don't honestly know where you get it from. I think Dollar Tree, truthfully. But anyhow, it's a really, really fast drying fingernail polish. It's what I use for head cement and everything. So as soon as these are all dry, I will take this and just clear coat over that little spot for just a second. The reason you need to do this is basically friction reduction. When you are casting your fly rod, if you are out there casting and one of your sections of your fly rod is off just a little bit, that line is going to drag on those ferrule eyelets. They're going to just, it's going to have friction. So when you're trying to cast, you don't have that smooth shoot anymore. It's got drag, so it's not going to go as far. A lot of people won't even notice that, but if you really pay attention, it gives you way more success in your long distance casting or pinpoint casting. You want to be able to have 100% freedom there. But the most important part isn't casting. The most important part is feeling every movement that happens on that fly line. And if you have no interference from the tip of that rod all the way in, and everything's smooth and lined up, and there's no drag, anything, you know, out of place and crooked, you're going to feel every bite that's on that line. And I encourage you to do this to your fly line, and I encourage you to learn as much as you can playing around with, even if you're out just perch fishing, to learn it. But learn that nibble feeling on the bottom of that fly line, because if you don't feel that, you're going to miss countless numbers of strikes. And I had a guy take me out and show me this several years ago, because I'd go fishing and I'd get out fished by all these guys, and I'm right there with it. And he's like, man, you're just missing it. You know, when you're fishing these nymphs and these streamers, you're not feeling the bite. And I didn't want to use strike indicators back then, and I use some now and then, but I didn't want to be a bobber fisherman. I was a fly fisherman, you know. But I started making sure my line was 100% lined up, and I started feeling that fly line a little bit better and the sensitivity of it, and it changed. I mean, I absolutely caught 100% more fish than I ever did, probably way more than that. I don't miss a lot of fish anymore because I can feel them, and I want is the least amount of friction on that fly line as there is on the cast, in as I'm reeling in and as I'm sitting out there trying to adjust what I'm doing as I'm fishing to where I can feel every strike that can happen on that. Because a lot of times they'll just nibble just a little bit. Well, if they're nibbling just a little bit and you can set that hook instantly, you've got a fish on the line. So learn those tricks and finesse your little rods a little bit. It's simple. It didn't cost me anything because I stole everything, but you can go buy a couple $, I don't know what fingernail polish costs. I steal it from my daughter. But you can buy a bottle of fingernail polish for probably $1 or $2. And get something reflective to where you can see it in low light conditions and dab those things on there. And I'm telling you what, it will make a difference like you wouldn't believe. And I know it's too simple to seem like it would, but it really does. If you can keep them things lined up, you're going to notice night and day difference. So I hope this little tip helps. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching.